Buddhist Science is a study on Buddhism based on facts and science.
The Buddha's Openness for Investigation by Venerable Rungruang Papatsaro, Dr. Rungruang Limchoopatipa. The Buddha made it very clear that his teachings are not conducted in secret, and they are openly for investigation as follows.
These three things, monks, are conducted in secret, not openly. What three? Affairs with women, the mantras of the Brahmins, and wrong view. But these three things, monks, shine openly, not in secret. What three? The moon, the sun, and the Dharma, the nature and discipline proclaimed by the Buddha, the Buddha's teachings.
The original Buddha's teachings are about facts in nature. The Buddha warned not to have a blind belief or faith without any investigation if it is right or wrong. The Buddha warned that we should not simply rely only on blind beliefs, no matter whose teachings are, even the Buddha's teachings. However, we should investigate and verify the teachings it is correct or not first. Unlike many other religious teachings, the Buddha did not promote any kind of supernatural story in his teachings, and he stood firm to be abided by facts only. After the Buddha period there are so many others teachings, especially the Brahman teachings mixed up with the Buddha's teachings, and contaminating the original Buddha's teachings. Therefore the Buddha outlined the way to certify in Dharma, nature, as a basis for investigating on any one teaching. On one occasion, the Buddha suggested to have a careful consideration and investigation of the Buddha in accordance with the Dharma, and that is, how the Buddha is well investigated in accordance with the Dharma as follows.
Monks, a monk who is an inquirer, not knowing how to gauge another's mind, should make an investigation of the Buddha in order to find out whether or not he is perfectly enlightened.
Venerable Sir, our teachings are rooted in the Blessed One, guided by the Blessed One, have the Blessed One as their resort. It would be good if the Blessed One would explain the meaning of these words. Having heard it from him, the monks will remember it.
Then listen, monks, and attend closely to what I shall say.
Yes, Venerable Sir.
The monks replied. The Blessed One said this.
Monks, a monk who is an inquirer, not knowing how to gauge another's mind, should investigate the Buddha with respect to two kinds of states, states cognizable through the eye and through the ear. Thus, are there found in the Buddha or not any defiled states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? When he investigates him, he comes to know, no defiled states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, are there found in the Buddha or not any mixed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? When he investigates him, he comes to know, no mixed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, are there found in the Buddha or not cleansed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? When he investigates him, he comes to know, cleansed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, has this Venerable One attained this wholesome state over a long time, or did he attain it recently? When he investigates him, he comes to know, this Venerable One has attained this wholesome state over a long time, he did not attain it only recently. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, has this Venerable One acquired renown and attained fame, so that the dangers connected with renown and fame are found in him? For monks, as long as a monk has not acquired renown and attained fame, the dangers connected with renown and fame are not found in him. But when he has acquired renown and attained fame, those dangers are found in him. When he investigates him, he comes to know, this Venerable One has acquired renown and attained fame, but the dangers connected with renown and fame are not found in him. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, is this Venerable One restrained without fear, not restrained by fear, And does he avoid indulging in sensual pleasures because he is without lust through the destruction of lust? When he investigates him, he comes to know. This Venerable One is restrained without fear, not restrained by fear, and he avoids indulging in sensual pleasure because he is without lust through the destruction of lust. Now, monks, if others should ask that monk thus, what are the Venerable One's reasons and what is his evidence whereby he says, that Venerable One is restrained without fear, not restrained by fear, and he avoids indulging in sensual pleasures because he is without lust through the destruction of lust, answering rightly, that monk would answer thus, whether that Venerable One dwells in the Sangha or alone, while some there are well behaved and some are ill behaved and some there teach a group, while some here are seen concerned about material things and some are unsullied by material things, still that Venerable One does not despise anyone because of that. And I have heard and learned this from the Blessed One's own lips. I am restrained without fear, not restrained by fear, and I avoid indulging in sensual pleasures because I am without lust through the destruction of lust. The Buddha, monks, should be questioned further about that thus. Are there found in the Buddha or not any defiled states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? The Buddha would answer thus. No defiled states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. If asked, are there found in the Buddha or not any mixed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? The Buddha would answer thus. No mixed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. If asked, are there found in the Buddha or not cleansed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? The Buddha would answer thus. Cleansed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Buddha. They are my pathway and my domain, yet I do not identify with them. Monks, a disciple should approach the teacher who speaks thus in order to hear the Dharma. The teacher teaches him the Dharma with its successively higher levels, with its successively more sublime levels, with its dark and bright counterparts. As the teacher teaches the Dharma to a monk in this way, through direct knowledge of a certain teaching here in that Dharma, the monk comes to a conclusion about the teachings. He places confidence in the teacher thus. The Blessed One is perfectly enlightened. The Dharma is well proclaimed by the Blessed One. The Sangha is practicing the good way. Now if others should ask that monk thus, what are the Venerable One's reasons and what is his evidence whereby he says, the Blessed One is perfectly enlightened. The Dharma is well proclaimed by the Blessed One. The Sangha is practicing the good way, answering rightly. That monk would answer thus. Here, friends, I approached the Blessed One in order to hear the Dharma. The Blessed One taught me the Dharma with its successively higher levels, with its successively more sublime levels, with its dark and bright counterparts. As the Blessed One taught the Dharma to me in this way, through direct knowledge of a certain teaching here in that Dharma, I came to a conclusion about the teachings. I placed confidence in the teacher thus. The Blessed One is perfectly enlightened. The Dharma is well proclaimed by the Blessed One. The Sangha is practicing the good way. Monks, when anyone's faith has been planted, rooted, and established in the Buddha through these reasons, terms, and phrases, his faith is said to be supported by reasons, rooted in vision, firm. It is invincible by any ascetic or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or by anyone in the world. That is how, monks, there is an investigation of the Buddha in accordance with the Dharma, and that is how the Buddha is well investigated in accordance with the Dharma. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words.
In one occasion, the Venerable Kassapa came to visit the Buddha, and asked him that,
while at the beginning when there are less disciplinary rules, but there are more people understanding the truths of nature, and there are more people become successful in Dharma. However, after adding more and more disciplinary rules, but there are less people understanding the truths of nature, and there are less people become successful in Dharma.
And the Buddha explained that,
in order to keep the Dharma, the teachings on the truths of life within nature, It is a necessity to have confidence in the Blessed One is perfectly enlightened. The Dharma is well proclaimed by the Blessed One, the Sangha is practicing the good way. And have a good study and practicing to contemplate and to realize on the truths of nature. As long as people still keep these conditions in actions, then the Dharma will last forever.
The Buddha suggested to have a total system of the investigations of the Buddha in accordance with the Dharma, and that is how the Buddha is well investigated in accordance with the Dharma starts on the Buddha, on the Dharma of his teaching, and even on the teachers who pronounces his teaching. In Buddhism, the truths of nature were exactly the original of his teaching, of which the Buddha had been carefully narrated in his teachings. The Buddha suggested to investigate not only on his teaching, but also on those who pronounced of his teaching as well, to avoid if there were any mixed or cleansed states in Buddhism. This is very true, because after the Buddha had passed away for several hundreds of years, his words and teachings were mixed and cleansed as he had mentioned in advance. Therefore it is very necessary to strictly follow the Buddha's teachings in accord to the Buddhist suttas, and even so the referred suttas also should be investigated and reconfirmed by the truths of nature, that is, based on facts and science as well. And this is the reason why in the Buddhist science, it is principally a study based on facts and science of the truths of nature. And since the Buddha's teachings must be completely investigated and verified, therefore there are some subjects that the Buddha never teaches because there are no way to prove such words if it is correct or not. There were 2 occasions that the Buddha explained on those subjects as follows.
I have left undeclared. The world is eternal. I have left undeclared. The world is not eternal. I have left undeclared. The world is finite. I have left undeclared. The world is infinite. I have left undeclared. The soul is the same as the body. I have left undeclared. The soul is one thing and the body another. I have left undeclared. After death a Buddha exists. I have left undeclared. After death a Buddha does not exist. I have left undeclared. After death a Buddha both exists and does not exist. I have left undeclared. After death a Buddha neither exists nor does not exist. And what have I declared? This is suffering, I have declared. This is the origin of suffering, I have declared. This is the cessation of suffering, I have declared. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering, I have declared.
These are the 10 subjects that the Buddha will never teach to anyone because these subjects cannot be investigated and verified. Therefore they cannot be proved, and they are unbeneficial, they do not belong to the fundamentals of the spiritual life, they do not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment. The Buddha limits his teachings only on the truths of life within nature based on the principle of 4 noble truths. As a matter of fact, even nowadays, many people also are interested to ask for these questions, and there are people who claims having such a supernatural powers to answer these questions, such in ascetic or Brahmin or Deva, God, or Mara or Brahma. However, the real Buddhism should not have any concern on these subjects, and a good Buddhist should not put any effort to answer these questions because the Buddha never taught so. It should be noticed that the word Dharma in the context of an investigation of the Buddha in accordance with the Dharma implies that his teachings are identical to the truths of nature, and this is the reason why the word Dharma has the same meaning for the Buddha's teachings, and the nature as well. The Buddha explains that his teachings are invincible by any ascetic or Brahmin or Deva, God, or Mara or Brahma, or by anyone in the world. The Buddha's openness to allow anyone to question and to challenge on his teachings is very unique. The Buddha made it very clear in his teaching that we should not simply believe in his teachings without investigations. This is the reason why in Buddhism, we must follow the systematic methodology of Buddhist practice in an insight observation, then investigating on the phenomena as it really is, and then verifying the Buddha's teachings carefully in accordance with the Dharma. The real Buddha teachings are all about the truths of nature which are open for investigation and can be proven, not by believing or having faith. So, everyone who learns about the Buddha's words, then having to experience the insight reality in practicing as well. The Buddha concludes that
before believing in anything, you should carefully investigate what it is in detail so that you can be very confident in the truth in nature, and as a matter of fact all of my teachings have already been totally investigated.
In one occasion, there was a person coming to see the Buddha, and asked him on how to see, and to investigate the Dharma, and the Buddha explained as follows.
The simplest way to investigate the Dharma is to have a mindfulness to see the state of mind. Let me give you some examples. When you be greedy on something, you can be aware of the greed inside your mind. And when you do not be greedy on anything, you also can be aware that there is no greed inside your mind. Is that right? The same as, when you be hateful on someone, you can be aware of the hatred inside your mind. And when you do not be hateful on anyone, you also can be aware that there is no hatred inside your mind. Is that right? The same as, when you be delusive on something, you can be aware of the delusion inside your mind. And when you do not be delusive on anything, you also can be aware that there is no delusion inside your mind. Is that right? Even when you have any combination of the three, that is, greed, hatred, and delusion, then you also can be aware of the arising of particular states of mind inside the mind. So does when there is no any combination of the three conditions, that is, greed, hatred, and delusion, then you also can be aware that there is no any combination of them inside the mind. Is that right? This is how we can have a mindfulness to check the state of mind, and then we can investigate if the teachings are beneficial or not by verifying the results of such the states of mind.
In investigating the rough defilements such as the greed, the hatred, and the delusion, they are kinds of strong emotional states of mind which can be easily detected. However, in order to detect the middle defilements of lower fetters, and the finest defilements of taints, latent dispositions, including the mind processing, and in this circumstance, the higher quality of mindfulness is required to detect such mental phenomena, and a Buddhist meditation has an important role in enhancing the quality of mindfulness to the highest level before performing an insight observation. And by then we can have a full investigation of the truths of life within nature. The Buddhist practice is not only the way to gain an insight wisdom, but also a way to investigate the Buddha's words and to investigate and to prove of the Buddha's words in accordance with the Dharma, and that is how the Buddha is well investigated in accordance with the Dharma. In one occasion, the Buddha asked his student, the Venerable Sariputta, who excelled in wisdom about believing in his teachings as follows.
Do you believe in whatsoever I say? Such a statement in my teaching that if performing in the mindfulness, the meditation and the wisdom, respectively, and then finally we can reach the goal of life?
And the Venerable Sariputta replied that,
not right away, sir. Although I will listen to your teachings first, and then I will investigating in your teachings, and after I do verify and proof that the teaching is right, then I indeed will have no doubt in the Buddha's teachings.
The Buddha praised this answer very much, and he confirmed this pragmatic way to learn the Buddha's teachings by investigation that
this is correct. Whatsoever the Buddha's teachings are, they must be cross-checked and verified for correctness first. And this is the way to study the Buddha's teachings.
In Buddhism, although faith may be necessary at the starting of the learning process, but eventually it is the study that is based on facts by experiencing the insight of mind processing, is the most important part of this learning process. The Buddhism is purely the first scientific approach to study the truths of life within nature in the ancient time. The Buddhism is not just only a philosophy, but it is a real practical study on the truths of life within nature that based on facts and science. After several thousand years when the science has been fully developed in the West, now the Western culture turns fundamentally into scientific rations. And conceptually the scientific philosophy and Western culture are based on the truths, not the teachings in faith or blind beliefs like what are described in most religions. Most of the scientists and intellectuals begin to doubt and to reinvestigate on what really the life is.
you.